If you've ever tried to calculate a sale price in your head, gotten lost following verbal directions, accidentally walked away in the middle of a task, or scrambled to remember any song you've ever heard while your friends discuss the merits of this year's Grammy nominees, you've felt the impact of the inefficient working memory associated with the ADHD brain. I probably don't need to tell you, being unable to hold on to and manipulate necessary information in the moment can make us feel stupid and look incompetent. But if you're willing to put some effort into supporting your working memory, stick around and I'll cover a few simple strategies that might benefit you. I'm Alex Delmar, a certified ADHD coach and person with ADHD. Welcome to Thoroughly ADHD, where I share what I've learned to help other people with ADHD enjoy better lives. In brief, working memory is an executive function, sometimes described as the scratch pad or the whiteboard of the brain, where you can combine external stimuli and information from short and long-term memory to complete a task or problem solve or hold a conversation. By the way, I covered working memory specifically in regard to conversation in a previous episode of Thoroughly ADHD, so if this topic interests you, check that one out too. Though I didn't understand it at the time, I learned my first painful lesson about working memory in the 3rd grade. Because I had a perfect score on every weekly spelling test, I was heavily favored to win the annual spelling bee. But then, in front of most of the school, I was knocked out in the first round on an objectively easy word because it turns out that while I can spell well on paper, I can't keep track of letters in my head. Which brings me to the single most effective aid for problem solving. It's putting everything down on paper. So our math teachers have been right the whole time. Showing all your work is super helpful for the ADHD brain. You can see if you've missed a step, and even if you get completely distracted, easily pick up right where you left off. In general, having things written down or otherwise recorded through pictures or voice notes or using simple visual placeholders like bookmarks or stitch markers or labels on the light switches will support your working memory. These external cues reduce the amount of information you have to retrieve from long and short-term memory, cut down the amount of information you have to hold in mind, lessen the number of decisions you have to make, reduce the likelihood of errors, and thus require your brain to use less space in working memory and less energy overall. In addition, if you have all the parts to a multi-step action written down, look at the list takes one slot in your working memory instead of each step taking space separately. A slightly embarrassing admission is that I have to keep the most efficient order to prepare for the day posted in my bathroom. Before I learned this, I'd have to keep all the steps continually in mind and then inevitably get them out of order or forget something, which takes extra time. And then I'd waste energy worrying about things like whether the contact I lost while washing my face has relocated up into my brain. Because I wasn't supporting my working memory, every day I'd end up annoyed with myself before I'd even had breakfast. In addition to keeping reminders, you can support your working memory by restricting the amount of work it has to do on activities that can be standardized. This technique of reducing decision fatigue is the reasoning behind following daily routines and wearing a similar outfit every day or owning just one kind of sock. The point is to conserve mental energy for more important work. Distractibility affects the efficiency of our working memory. If you must problem solve in your head or on the fly, like in meetings, you can try unfocusing your eyes or focusing on a neutral background, like a tabletop or a blank spot on the wall. If you're on the phone, you can even try closing your eyes. Jot down ideas you have while someone else is speaking so you don't miss new information while trying to remember your thought or forget it while waiting your turn to talk. An important aspect of working memory is that it is almost impossible to take notes in real time without missing crucial information. So try to get copies of the speaker or instructor's notes even ahead of the presentation if possible, and ask for a copy of the minutes after meetings. If this information won't be provided to you, record the session so that you can play it back later and pause it while you write down key points. By the way, there's considerable evidence that most people retain information better by hand writing it as opposed to using a keyboard or just listening. Having accurately retained information you'll need later is another aid to maximize the efficiency of your working memory. To give your working memory the most supportive environment, it seems best to limit distractions and interruptions whenever possible. Hang a come back later sign on the door of your office or outside your cubicle. Play white, pink, or brown noise to drown out others' conversation or intermittent sounds. Put up a privacy partition when you need to concentrate, or otherwise limit your field of vision to the thing you are working on. Give yourself a pat on the back for any strategies you attempt. Thanks for your time. I hope you found something useful here, and you'll come back next week for a new episode of Thoroughly ADHD.